Luxury, elegance, and materialism. A typical day in one's favorite department store. Browsing, perusing the items for purchase, when something quite mystical catches your eye and shakes you out of your everyday consumerism. A pop-up store offering a time-limited experience to interested participants. Yet this pop-up isn't offering new perfume samples, pre-orders for the new designer bags, or bath bubbles. Instead, it is a booth hosting AI robot kiosks. AI that is not just there to assist with everyday tasks, but there to be your personal shaman. An AI shaman robot that reads your birth charts, fingerprints, and facial features, and upon completion gifts you with a digital QR talisman to be scanned on your phone, providing you with Hanja characters guiding you in the way of healing, protection, and connection to the spiritual world. The above was the experience of thousands of South Koreans walking through Hyundai department stores in Seoul and Pangyo. Veneda, a new South Korean startup offering AI shaman fortune telling, is making its public debut in the most prominent way possible: high-end department stores. Veneda is a startup company that deals with cultural products within one of Seoul's popular Hanok villages, Iksandong. Veneda means I pray earnestly and has established a storefront where individuals who might feel intimidated by face-to-face human shamans can find a comfortable place to divine their future. After inputting personal information such as their name, birthday, and gender, in a discussion with an AI face kiosk where the individual can tell the voice-initiated chatbot about their concerns, they can then choose to have their fortune told as it relates to romance, career, and other topics of importance. Using Veneda's chatbot, which runs the user's information alongside the Korean tradition of Saju, the 4 pillars of destiny, the AI generates and prints a QR code for the participant to scan on their phone, providing guidance and advice on how to move forward. The user is then directed to another kiosk across the room, where another AI robot performs gwangsang, face reading, and sketches the individual's face, with predictions for their future based on the structure and features of their face. This experience is not just limited to Koreans, but is offered in multiple languages for foreigners who wish to participate. This AI shaman, although possibly shocking to foreigners, is an incarnation of South Korea's cultural milieu, where shamanism and the occult are being brought back into public practice, helping remove negative stereotypes through modern media and technology, thereby making the occult more accessible and a part of pop culture. Through K-culture, South Korea is piquing worldwide interest in shamanism and the occult not only through robotics, but also through other digital formats such as movies, television shows, and music. The South Korea's unique position as an Eastern country, heavily influenced by Western technology and science, religious, philosophical, and media elements are being blended into K-culture to create a new form of ritual practice for shamanism, bringing it to the masses through entertainment. And as the children and young adults of all generations ride the shamanistic K-wave, the youth of all nations, both knowingly and unknowingly, are being introduced to esoteric occult beliefs and practices through South Korean media, slowly normalizing the spirit of the age and whispering the primordial promise of universal consciousness and deification to all who are willing to listen. Before analyzing the promulgation of shamanistic narratives through Korean media, base-level shamanism must be defined to help us understand what it is and the rituals that comprise it. While secular definitions may describe it as merely contacting friendly spirits and gods within nature, from a Christian perspective, shamanism is not merely that. It is an ancient methodology of ritual technology used to contact fallen divine beings that work alongside demonic spirits to offer esoteric knowledge to the initiate. The beings the shamans come into contact with are real and do offer real knowledge. Yet for Christians, these are unseen forces of demonic power. beings Christians are continually warned against participating with in Scripture. Shamanism itself is a form of occultism, with occultism defined as, quote, knowledge of the hidden, secret, or supernatural. It encompasses a wide range of esoteric beliefs, mystical practices, and phenomena that typically fall outside the scope of traditional religion and mainstream science, such as magic, astrology, divination, and alchemy, end quote. Shamanism is just one practice that falls under the category of occultism. Other practices include voodoo, root work, witchcraft, folk magic, tarot, astrology, numerology, runes, mediumship, spiritualism, alchemy, ceremonial magic, Kabbalah, Freemasonry, Satanism, Luciferianism, chaos magic, Wicca, modern paganism, Thelema, Hermeticism, Rosicrucianism, Gnosticism, New Age, and Theosophy. These occult practices are not limited to individual groups or practitioners, but are also observed in Hinduism, Buddhism, Kabbalistic Judaism, and Sufi Islam. The spiritual but not religious movement has also gained significant notoriety in recent years, with adherents heavily interested in New Age practices. From a Western perspective, shamanism is labeled as magic, the New Age, or more categorically, the occult. However, from an Eastern perspective, shamanism and mysticism is seen as a way of life, a part of everyday living within a physical plane of reality that intersects with the spiritual. From a Christian perspective, the occult is banned in any shape or form by God himself. Leviticus 19:31 states, quote, regard not mediums, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God, end quote. The practice of the early church was also to burn occult materials upon conversion, as seen in the book of Acts, chapter 19, verses 19 through 20, quote, many of them also who used magic arts brought their books together and burned them before all men, and they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver, end quote. Shamanism is believed to be the most ancient of all spiritual occult practices, originating within hunting and gathering cultures in Siberia, Mongolia, and Central Asia, often working in tandem with animism, a belief that the earth and all of creation are teeming with spiritual beings, both friendly and malevolent, and that all things, whether created or uncreated, have their own spirits. According to Manveer Singh, quote, a shaman is a specialist who through non-ordinary states engages with unseen realities and provides services like healing and divination. You can achieve a non-ordinary or altered state with drugs, drumming, dancing, fasting, meditation, whatever floats your boat. Floats it into the beyond, that is. Once there, you might battle with demons, fly across the sky, plunge into the underworld, enlist the help of power animals, or commune with the souls of the dead. You might undergo a terrible supernatural ordeal, a violent unmaking, or a scattering of the self. Crucially, though, you come back stronger. You return from the other realm remade, with strange new capabilities. You can heal, you can prophesy, end quote. Not only this, but in animism, these spirits and matter are seen as one reality, one connected whole, known as the web of life, where all that is matter and spirit is seen as one organism, functioning together in the universe. This oneness is the philosophical underpinning of shamanistic and animistic belief and teaches that the divine is not only within the spiritual world, far and distant, but the divine is in each one of us. We are a part of this collective spiritual and physical enmeshment of ultimate reality. There is no strict figure of God, but there is the sacred and the spiritual. There are gods and spirits who are in charge of directing the happenings within the earth, connected to our physical world, and as a result, we must live in harmony with all creation because to treat another well, whether human or non-human, is to treat oneself with respect, given everything is a part of the One. In the shamanistic and animistic worldview, the earth is seen not just as a physical plane, but a reality that is multi-layered with gods and spirits above and below the physical plane, which come into contact with and interact with humanity, most notably through the shaman as the medium. In shamanism, the god is a spirit in charge of the elements of the earth and local nature, directing the events of the world. There are other forms of spirits as well, often deceased family members or community members known as ancestors, who can connect humanity to the spiritual realm. Over time, an ancestor can become a respected spirit, eventually becoming deified within the pantheon of gods. The lines distinguishing these categories within the spirit world are not well defined and vary across cultures. These gods and spirits can be accessed and communicated with through achieving different states of altered consciousness, also known as trances and ecstatic religious experiences, brought on by rituals led by singing, dancing, drumming, and psychoactive drugs. Through the drum, the beat sends the shaman into a trance. It creates an opportunity for the spirit to possess the shaman or the drum, or to draw the shaman into the spirit world, accompanied by a spontaneously created song that calls forth the spirits. Through working oneself into a trance, either through drugs, breathing exercises, or bell and drum songs paired with singing and dancing, the shaman can enter into contact with entities of the spirit world. There are two forms of trances. One where the spirit possesses the shaman and acts and speaks through them, called trances of possession, leading to super strength, super knowledge, shaking, and eventually falling out unconscious, to later, upon waking, to be used as a channel to communicate information from the spirit world to humanity. These ecstatic states that are required of the shaman to access the spiritual world are commonly reached through the use of psychedelic drugs and mushrooms. Some Native American shamans use fasting, isolation, and ceremonial deprivation paired with drums and chants to reach ecstatic states. Another method of trance is known as a wandering trance, where the shaman's soul is transported to the underworld to interact with the spirits. Scholars state that among the objects possessed by spirits, there are three groups: objects of nature, trees and rocks; man-made objects, earthen pots and garments; and objects from the shaman's shrine. These objects serve as placings for spirit presence or as their vehicles. Through these rituals and one's contact with the spirits, the shaman, meaning the one who knows, can harness spiritual and physical powers to heal, divine the future, and manipulate reality. The shamans can access the spiritual world and help guide ancestors and animal spirits through the afterlife, and by doing so, bring unity between the physical and spiritual worlds. Shamanism is a religious practice and is not something that can be separated from a spiritual dimension, regardless of differences in culture or practice. Other spiritual practices used in shamanism for divination include bone throwing, charm casting, the use of runes, aromancy, scrying, tasseography, oniromancy, automatic writing, vibrations from crystals and stones, energy manipulation, contact with the dead, contact with spirits, fortune telling, horoscopes, throwing rice grains, ringing bells, trances, astral travel, divination for future predictions, spirit possessions, vision quests, and many more depending on the specific culture of focus. These methods are paired with natural medicine and medicinal plants to heal people from evil spirits causing sickness and disease. Shamans are normally seen as healers within a small collective group who help with social relations, health, and interaction with the natural and supernatural. Christians do believe that these shamans are coming into contact with spirits and gods, yet they are the gods of other nations and deceiving spirits. They are the fallen Elohim of Yahweh's divine council and the demonic spirits of dead Nephilim that are providing spiritual knowledge forbidden for humanity to use. Often in shamanic tradition, Those who are considered strange within society are more fit for the shaman role, specifically including those who have an ambiguous sexual identity. This includes other peculiarities like extra fingers, illnesses, and epilepsy, which are ways of showing the community that they are outside the normal standards of what it means to be human, breaking the duality of reality by embracing both sides and making it more likely they have supernatural abilities. For example, in Korean Shamanism, subverting that which is normal within society, known as sangwan, was an essential aspect of the rituals. Through doing so, shamans provide an alternative form of advice that connects the physical and spiritual by overthrowing normalized social orders. Not only does it provide physical and social liberation from expectations of a limiting physiology, but it is a spiritual combination of the male and female forces working together to transcend the duality of gender, and is often why many ancient deities are symbolized as a being with not a single gender, because they have embraced the opposites. Through transcending duality, they have become one. If the shaman can symbolically transform into both male and female, this manifests the reality of becoming the essence of transformation and accessing other spiritual dimensions where the oneness resides. It brings the shaman back to a time before the physical universe, before male and female were created, and brings them to the primordial essence of spirit, and through the chaos of gender bending, they can bring order through the spiritual power they tap into. Shamanism is best practiced when there are minimal religious and hierarchical structures. These shamans must lead their individuals and groups in all practices of spirituality and community, ones that are localized rather than universal, to eliminate the need for dogmatic beliefs across large swaths of the population, while remaining localized and controlled by a single individual. Practices such as ritual procedures, forms of induction into shamanistic practice, qualities of altered states of consciousness, spiritual power relations, and many more theoretically and anthropologically defined variables relating to shamanic beliefs and practices are common across most shamanistic cultures. Below is a list from a research study in 2004 led by Winkleman listing out the similarities. The first being, the shaman experience ecstasy, an altered state of consciousness, ASC, experience known as soul journey or soul flight. Number 2, using chanting, music, drumming, and dancing. Number 3, practice divination, diagnose and prophesy. Number 4, train through deliberately induced ASC, particularly vision quests and involving an initiatory death and rebirth experience. Number 5, spirit relations as foundational to professional capacities. Number 6, understand diseases to be caused by the intrusion of objects or attacks by spirits and sorcerers. Number 7, use of therapeutic processes focused on soul and power animal recovery. Number 8, has animal relationships, including the ability to control animal spirits and transform into animals. Number 9, charismatic group leadership. Number 10, the ability to perform malevolent acts involving sorcery. And number 11, magic to improve hunting outcomes. Shamanism is cross-cultural, yet is practiced in different forms due to geography, language, and culture. However, when shamans are presented with the practices from other cultures, they view the practices as rational and understandable, showing the shamans consider them as legitimate forms of practice that transcend culture. Shamanic practices are not limited to one culture or country throughout time, but practices that may even go by different names have striking similarities, methods, and purposes across the world. At its basic level, shamanism is a technique of religious ecstasy. It is through these techniques and the mediumship of the shaman that the sick are healed, whether physical, spiritual, or mental, often brought on by trauma, to bring the soul and body into harmony. Across ancient religions, except for apostolic Christianity, whether Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Eastern mysticism, or folk religions, shamanism shapes religious practice and ritual. whether in the standard practice of the religion or in branches respected and supported by the common community of these world religions. Shamanism is especially evident in cultures like South Korea, where shamanism is at the center of its foundational myth. Shamanism is a part of Korean DNA. Mago, or Magu, the mother goddess of the Korean people, was a goddess from Chinese culture, eventually becoming one of the goddesses that reside within the Korean mountains and known as the mother of all humans. She is very similar in function to the Greek mother goddesses Gaia and Demeter. Mago is Mother Earth, connecting her to Gaia. At the same time, she is the goddess of fertility, like Demeter, the ancient mother goddess who was the center of worship in the mystery religions. Mago is upheld as one of the main deities of shamanism in Korea. Following Mago is Tangun, the founder of Korea, and in myth he was himself a shaman. He is known as the individual who started the kingdom of Gojoseon in 2333 BC, and is known to be the first great shaman of Korea, not only ruling politically, but also tapping into his divine right of rule. This practice of shamanism in South Korea, called musok, is performed by shamans known as mudong, who through the means of dancing and chanting come into contact with the gods. Mudong means one who dances to the language of the gods. The drums are played to wake up the spirit world, and the bells and cymbals invite the gods to be with the participants. The spirit world, animism, and geomancy are the foundations for Korean shamanism. Geomancy is, quote, the belief in flows of energy through the natural world, which can either be in harmony with human behavior and creations, creating positive effects for human experience, or negative effects with disharmony, end quote. This concept of disharmony in Korea is called Han, or, quote, a profound Korean cultural concept representing a deep collective feeling of unresolved sorrow, regret, injustice, and longing, end quote, where the shaman, through ritual, balances the scales and restores balance to the energy. What makes Korean shamanism different from other parts of the world, East or West, is that Korean shamanism is focused on healing, not only of those who deserve it, but also of the deceased who need to be released from their anger, bitterness, and resentment, Haewon, so that they can enter into the afterlife without any baggage of Han. Korean shamanism tries not to treat ghosts and demons as malevolent or evil spirits, but instead as people who must be restored, renewed, and set into balance with themselves and with the community. In Korean shamanism, there is no evil or darkness. There is only confusion and misconceptions that must be overcome, healed, or restored. Quote, shamans are not like Western exorcists who fight ghosts or evil spirits. Instead, they listen to the grievances of restless spirits, serve them a proper meal, and send them to the afterlife with a small offering. They are closer to counselors than fighters, healers rather than killers, end quote. Eventually, with Korea adopting Buddhist influence thousands of years later, Buddhism merged with local shamanism to create a new form of religious practice. Buddha is deeply linked to the shamanism of Korea and still follows the tradition of Eastern religions that avoid absolute dualism, opting rather to blend spiritual practices. However, this practice of musok did not last forever, as the Joseon dynasty adopted Neo-Confucianism, which viewed shamanism as a superstitious practice to be abolished. The Joseon dynasty, from 1392 to 1897, suppressed Mudong as a result of its focus on Confucianism and seeing shamanism as superstitious, trying to eliminate it. Under this dynasty, shamanism was suppressed and only practiced in secret, and eventually, when the Joseon dynasty was beginning to end, Protestant Christian missionaries entered Korea in 1880, also heavily suppressing shamanistic practices and labeling them as anti-Christian. After the time of the Protestant Christian missionaries was over, Imperial Japan moved in, and suppressed shamans because they believed that shamanism was keeping Korea from modernization. So while shamanism is at the foundations of what it means to be Korean, for hundreds of years it has been relegated to secret practice out of fear of persecution or shame. But as postmodern nihilism is rejected worldwide, including Korea, in favor of the new metamodern reality, Korea is following suit under Western influence and beginning to change. Luke Turner defines metamodernism as, quote, whereas postmodernism was characterized by deconstruction, irony, pastiche, relativism, nihilism, and the rejection of grand narratives, to caricature it somewhat, the discourse surrounding metamodernism engages with the resurgence of sincerity, hope, romanticism, affect, and the potential for grand narratives and universal truths, whilst not forfeiting all that we've learned from postmodernism. Thus, rather than simply signaling a return to naive modernist ideological positions, metamodernism holds that an oscillation between aspects of modernism and postmodernism characterizes our era. We see this manifest as a kind of informed naivete, a pragmatic idealism, a moderate fanaticism, oscillating between sincerity and irony, deconstruction and construction, apathy and effect, attempting to attain some sort of transcendent position as if such a thing were within our grasp. The metamodern generation understands that we can be both ironic and sincere in the same moment, that one does not necessarily diminish the other, end quote. Moving on from the postmodern world, the metamodern reality is upon us, or another term might be, as Carl Teichert calls it, the age of re-enchantment, by which he means re-enchantment is, quote, the assembly of meaning and purpose within a matrix of wonder and mystery, aesthetic expressions, symbolism, and sentiment, all pointing to a paradigm of holism. Whereas disenchantment produced an I-it relationship, with the person as I and the earth and cosmos as it, re-enchantment emphasizes an I-thou perspective. Everything is in community. Humanity is sublimely connected to a wider sense of being. Occulture and re-enchantment draws from the mythic past. Whether drawing on Eastern spirituality or Gnosticism, there is broad occultural agreement that the key to vibrant, authentic contemporary spirituality is the resurgence of ancient traditions. There is a sense of continuity with the ancients. Finding our new foundation would thus necessitate a realignment of knowledge. Science was not superior, nor was the occult worldview inferior. The same mental universe holds both. Therefore, science and participatory consciousness would need to find an alchemical synthesis. Holism is reality and destiny. Re-enchantment would be a return to the mystery made manifest in shamanism, the animistic bonding to nature, specifically the God within and the ecosystem that reflects it. It synthesizes the ancient and future, and projects the primal and archaic into the present. Man must be placed into its service, for this reflects the baseness of cosmic unity, the starting point of evolutionary oneness. It is the framing story of our time, as it is the narrative of past epochs, nature deified, end quote. So, in a new metamodern, globalized world that emphasizes radical inclusion, self-expression, and self-meaning making in a subjective, non-dogmatic way, young Koreans have mustered the courage to return to their ancient roots in shamanism and express it as part of their cultural identity worldwide, as a part of re-enchanting their worldview, mainly through entertainment, creating a metamodern, self-constructed neo-shamanism. Korea is not seeing the abandonment of technological advances or economic capitalism brought over by the West. Instead, it is seeing the merging of shamanism into those areas of reality through a metamodern worldview, a re-enchanting of reality, and creating a neo-shamanism, one oriented around technology and media, morphing into a form of techno-shamanism. Young Koreans are seeing shamanism as an act of rebellion against the established economic system that introduces unjust treatment to Korean citizens. Through storytelling, syncretism with popular religions, and merging with new forms of technology to create inventive new practices, shamanism is being brought to the technological, meta-modern world not just for Koreans to enjoy, but for the international scene to engage in techno-shamanic rituals in the name of K-culture entertainment. And while this might simply seem to be a rediscovery of Korean identity, lurking beneath the surface is the reality of the spirits and gods of these shamanistic systems, which are not benevolent entities that inhabit nature and traverse the nether realm of spirituality, but are demonic spirits and beings that seek to corrupt the image of God in humanity from a Christian worldview. Spirits of the deceased Nephilim fathered by rebellious divine council members who seek to destroy humanity out of hatred for the triune God and his good creation. These interdimensional beings compete with the triune God of Christianity and seek to harness people's pain and trauma caused by this modern world to manipulate individuals into practices theologically reminiscent of the serpent's deception sold to Adam and Eve in Eden, promising them deification and control of their lives, only leading to further brokenness and pain. At face value, this emerging shamanism is encouraging individuals to create media that explores untapped artistic crossovers and fresh ideas. However, at a deeper level, it is more than just wanting to be innovative or getting back to the roots of Korean identity. The emergence of shamanism and the occult in Korea is a result of deep dissatisfaction with the modern world of unjust economics, politics, and religion. In Korea, this feeling is described as unresolved Han. As described before, quote, a profound Korean cultural concept representing a deep collective feeling of unresolved sorrow, regret, injustice, and longing, end quote. Many Koreans are seeking to be freed from this Han, which is only intensified under the modern Korean state, in its politics and socio-economic landscape, and the deceitful beliefs of shamanism which promise to release individuals from this pain. The modern dystopia of South Korean work and economic culture is leading younger generations to a desire for escape, catapulting them into a search for higher meaning with explanations that satisfy both their practical and existential questions. They are looking for their world to be re-enchanted and to embrace the mystical aspects of life that go beyond the pursuit of wealth and fame. Shamanism is presented as one of these ways, a path to resist the powerful elite and those trying to impose their own ways of life and ideologies on Koreans, a pushback against the hundreds of years of mandated conformity. According to Sung Jae Lee in her article, The Resilience of Shamanistic Practices, a sociological analysis on modern Korean society, she states, quote, over decades, autocratic rule directed the Korean people's efforts to only one goal, achieving rapid economic advancement through relentless industrial modernization while sacrificing individual freedom and expression. A strictly organized and work-based culture emerged under autocratic rulers, with a singular drive for self-improvement through education and material gains. Over decades, the competitiveness of this culture has shaped modern Korean culture into one of the most intense and competitive in the world. The desire to show success in this society has led to phenomena such as the kimchi premium. The demand for luxury products in South Korea is so high that people are willing to pay a premium over and above the price of luxury products in other developed countries. The extreme competitiveness in Korean education culture is another example, in which children of all ages study for 12 hours every day, and the stress often leads to mental health issues, including a high rate of youth suicide. This resistance is expressed through increased interest in and association with the symbols of traditional shamanism, which undermine the rational understanding of success and failure in a society and economy of free market capitalism. End quote. With this economic and capitalist focus that leads to intense competition and a desire for success, shamans are pushed in the culture as mentors who offer help to individuals who are burnt out on the capitalist rat race. Shamans provide an escape to Koreans into a world that is outside the nihilistic, capitalistic reality currently being experienced, providing hope, answers, and easing the burden of personal responsibility for what will happen in the future. Koreans see shamanism as a way of subverting hierarchy, providing for the destitute, giving health and prosperity to those who are told that the draining career race of success and capitalism are of the utmost importance. Through shamanism, many are claiming that stress and competition melt away and disintegrate the hunt for status within society. But as mentioned before, this is nothing more than a temporary solution provided by the demonic to pull one deeper into the deception of occultism. In the past, hopes and anxieties were shared with religious leaders and the community, a form of confession that led to healing. Yet, with traditional organized religion fading in Korea, anxiety and stress are left unaddressed in the modern world. Specifically in South Korea, amid work-life balance challenges and the absence of a god or religious leaders to confide in, many are turning to fortune-telling and shamanism to gain certainty about their future. And with ease of access to shamans in the local community, or even online through social media, shamanism helps provide comfort in an ever-changing culture and economic landscape. This is seen through the shamanism economy. Fortune-telling in South Korea is reaching a $3.7 billion business market, and the estimated number of shamans registered in South Korea has hit 400,000. This is about one shaman for every 130 people in South Korea. Google Trends also reflect this trend, with keywords like shaman and fortune-telling doubling in South Korea within the last 5 years, with Koreans searching not just for healing, but as a way to predict the future and beat their competition within the business world. Yet despite their desire to beat the competition, many Koreans are waking up to the fact that capitalist wealth and fame leave them feeling empty. The chase for money and status never ends, and once one rival is beaten, there is an endless line to climb over. The race leaves them feeling anxious and uncertain about their future. And now there is a renewed search for meaning, a meta-modern movement towards re-enchanting one's reality. There is a quiet rebellion taking place through shamanism against materialism, facilitating a return to searching for satisfaction instead of fame, and connection instead of leadership. So why is Korea turning to shamanism? For younger generations, it is a form of rebellion, a form of rejecting institutionalized authorities and systems. Shamanism is a form of organized resistance to the globalization of Korean culture, with its relentless focus on economic and social competition under globalized capitalism. In shamanism, there is no dogma. It is individualistic, subjective, and free-flowing, which is refreshing to younger generations who have grown up with strict Confucian values and rigid, legalistic forms of evangelical Christianity introduced to South Korea by early Presbyterian and Methodist missionaries. Not only non-Christians, but Christians themselves are growing tired of the tropes of evangelical Protestantism in Korea that confuse Confucianism with Christianity. In South Korea, Protestantism is dying as a result of negative views associated with it. In Korea, Protestants are negatively associated with cult leaders, and this decline is not just a media phenomenon. It is the reality of the fact that Protestantism is dying in South Korea, with young people leaving Protestantism once they realized it was nothing more than a way of modernizing the Joseon dynasty. Protestantism within Korea has failed to bring the healing and justice sought by the Korean people. It has, in actuality, often only introduced more pain and abuse into the already hurting people. Once again, this pain of abuse within systems of politics and religion is being utilized by the demonic to drive people towards the false light of healing offered by shamanism, as a result of the failure of those who proclaim Christ. During the height of its popularity, Protestantism in Korea was a bastion of anti-communism. It fought back against the era's dictatorships, not only eliminating tyrannical behavior, but also contributing to a decline in the popularity of Confucian values and shamanic practices. Falling from grace, Korean Protestantism is now known as the Asphalt Right, mainly because of its constant protests against perceived cults and heresy hunting, its hatred towards people who disagree with them, and they have left a bitter flavor in the mouth of younger generations, leading the youth to associate Christianity with Protestantism, portraying them as senile, anti-scientific, and illogically dogmatic. Since the 1980s, the Protestant population has not grown. It has actually declined, often attributed to rigid Confucian church hierarchy and the self-centered ecclesiology of Protestant churches, which has led to a major drop in its reputation among younger generations. Scandals have sown doubt, prompting seekers to explore other, more transparent religious options. And with all the abuses, the older generations of Koreans continue to support the corrupt leaders because of their Confucian upbringing. Protestants who were once the leaders of Korean morality and society are now seen as embarrassing, and any association with the group brings shame to individuals, which is a major driving social factor in Korea for people to leave the church. This leaves even proclaiming Christians in a difficult situation, who are also turning elsewhere for comfort as a result of failure within Protestant churches. Christians in Korea make up part of the fortune-telling scene. Pairing these problems with the growing movement of Korean feminism, many young women in Korea are leaving the Protestant church and being embraced with open arms by the ancient, women-centric shamanistic culture abandoned long ago. Shamanism is being reintroduced through media, not just as a niche practice appealing to a select few, but as a form of spiritual practice, as a replacement to the old systems, connected to Korea's traditional roots. The inclusivity, flexibility, and subjectivism of shamanism are appealing to non-religious individuals, which Korea is primed for, with the Korean non-religious population rising from 43% in 2004 to 63% in 2023, with people between the ages of 19 and 29 at 85% and those in their 30s 81%. Shamans are also being used as counselors for mental health in Korea, given that there is a stigma behind mental health treatment within Korean society. Young Koreans are participating in shamanism as a form of therapy or counseling, prominently finding shops that offer these services in places like Hyundai, Jeonju Hanok Village, and Daehakro, offering even multiple languages to foreign visitors who want to participate in the growing trend. According to culture critic Jung Deok-hyun, quote, "Shamans are no longer depicted the way they used to be. They are much more in tune with millennials and Generation Z, and in some ways, they come across as quite hip and stylish," end quote. It is not just entertainment for the younger generations. They have been trained through media to believe that through the shaman's connection to these occult forces, psychological counseling can be replaced with the shaman to talk about future possibilities. And this is not just a pop culture phenomenon. It has reached the academic ranks as well. A recent conference titled Shamanism and K-Culture was held at Seoul National University. During this meeting, several keynote speakers highlighted that shamanism in Korea is changing in response to the digital landscape. Now live streaming, recording, and remote participation have become major ways for individuals to participate in rituals and have been adapted to more individualistic concerns, including romantic relationships, social advancement, and individual ambition, all serving the purpose of consolation and meeting the basic human needs. For example, YouTube is being used as a social media and online streaming platform to bring shamanism to the masses. Many popular online shamans are performing rituals and tarot readings for their followers, for a cost of course, where Korean shamans summon gods through singing, dancing, and walking on blades, and they worship local deities like Mountain God, Great Spirit Grandmother, and Dragon Kings. In the same academic stream, in Northwest Seoul, the Museum of Shamanism is the founding site of the World Shamanism Forum. Shamans and those who study shamanism from around the world meet at the museum for festivals and exhibitions featuring shamanism from cultures such as India, Mongolia, and Siberia, drawing large crowds that gather around to hear the mysticism and rituals touted by local and international shaman practitioners. This museum has hosted notable speakers in the world of academic shamanism, such as Dr. Diana Riboli from Athens Pantheon University and the president of the International Society for Academic Research on Shamanism. In her speech, the president of this research institution said that shamanism must be reinterpreted so that it is, quote, fully expressing, interacting with, and evolving alongside the contemporary, end quote. With this observation of the growing trend of shamanism in the occult in Korea, driven by the dissatisfaction with the current world and a meta-modern initiative to re-enchant reality, the Korean people are prime targets for the occult invasion through media, for the primordial whisper that was preached to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. The movies, television shows, and music of Korea have embraced shamanism as an entertainment identity and, through it, are distributing occult content to the world as a form of identity. The popularity of such content is outstanding. The dissatisfaction with modern capitalism, scientism, and organized religion in Korea is just a microcosm of what is happening around the world. People internationally now have a hunger for the unknown and the mysterious, that which modernist and postmodernist philosophies and worldviews have repressed for so long. As Stanford University professor Willius Harmans states, quote, "The growing interest in such areas as Eastern religious philosophies, yoga and meditation, channeling, etc., has made clear the public's dissatisfaction with the scientists' exclusive claim to valid truth-seeking." End quote. Shamanism will be pushed in the metamodern world as the golden standard of religious practice. Why is this? This neo-shamanism believes in spiritual forces and focuses only on lived experiences as sources of truth rather than dogmas or institutional practices. A form of mystified agnosticism. There is no central God, there is only creation. Mother Earth, of which we are all a part, constitutes us as a fragment of the divine, making humanity's spiritual goal the realization that they are all a part of the whole. They are connected to the one cosmic force of the universe. This is the divinity of all creation. This is no different from the concept of moksha, monism, or the Gnostic return to the pleroma. Whether it be shamanism, occultism, Hinduism, certain branches of Buddhism, or Gnosticism, the ultimate goal among them all, of course with narrative nuances, is to return to the One. To recognize that all is connected, all is one, that all is God. And it is this same Serpentine Theology being used as inspiration in South Korean media, a call for everyone to rediscover nature's divine status, including oneself, and to gain control over one's own destiny. Shamans offer a flexible way to explain the unexplainable and seemingly supernatural events in their lives and throughout the world. With shamanism being historically known for its subversive stance towards hierarchy and specializing in breaking normative patterns of truth, experience, and reality, K-culture has turned into a vehicle to push forth this religious philosophy of the age. Koreans have been told for too long who they are instead of actually discovering their identity. And metamodernism opens not only the door for them to pursue this adventure of re-enchantment, but also, from a Christian perspective, to allow the demonic forces of occultism to weave their oneness web of darkness to capture individuals who are suffering, promising them healing. What was once considered savage, uncivilized, occult, and demonic is now being embraced by Koreans as a way to access the world beyond our earth and connect with a higher power, and is now accessible across all forms of South Korean entertainment and media. It is undeniable that over recent years, South Korea has risen to the forefront of the entertainment world. Known as Hallyu, or the Korean Wave, K-culture is taking the world by storm. Korean entertainment on Netflix ranks number 2 worldwide, with K-pop consistently being in the top number 1 and number 2 spots in music throughout the world. South Korea has created many entertaining shows, some with wholesome messages and plots. However, alongside these uplifting, heart-touching shows, Korean media has increasingly incorporated shamanism and the occult into its entertainment. What used to be niche and hidden from the public is now being displayed and promoted not just in top department stores in Korea, as we discussed with Veneda, but across all forms of Korean media, including K-pop, movies, television shows, and social media. More than just a creative choice to evoke mystic and horror atmospheres, South Korean media is introducing esoteric content and narratives through entertainment in each media industry. Starting with television media, Exuma is a 2024 movie about a group of shamans, a geomancer, and a mortician who, while trying to move the grave of a wealthy family, release vengeful spirits that now compel the main characters to use occult powers to calm and fight them. During the filming of one of the ritual scenes, the cast and crew claimed that a real ghost was summoned and the shaman on set had to cast it out. Exuma was the movie that began breaking the taboo on occult themes in Korean film, thanks to its well-crafted production, excitement, and popularity. Since the release of this film, shamanism has been a recurring theme through much of K-culture media. The second movie, If Wishes Could Kill, is a shamanistic horror movie that reached #1 in 21 countries, including Korea. The movie is about students who create an app that puts curses upon the users, and the app cannot be deleted, leading to users being followed around by demonic spirit manifestations of death, ending in their eventual murder. The shaman is portrayed as the superhero who steps in to break the digital curse, a techno-shaman, and free the victims from demonic oppression. This movie is gaining popularity for its new and fresh take on the horror genre and will soon become a standard way of producing horror films, according to those in the Korean film industry. Other movies included in this occult list that reached notoriety are The Priests, The Wailing, Dark Nuns, Savha, The Sixth Finger, Devil's Stay, The Cursed, The Divine Fury, and Along with the Gods. Television shows are also seeing an uptick in occult content. Possessed Love is a popular dating show where shamans participate in rituals to cast a view on what their romantic futures will look like. Phantom Lawyer is a recent Netflix show ranked 5th globally among non-English programs. It is about a lawyer who uses shamanistic powers and spirit possession as a way to work with the client's families. And most notably on the list, the new Disney Plus show, Battle of the Fates, which premiered in 2026. In the show, 49 different shamans and occult practitioners test their skills in a survival-style game show by competing against each other to tell fortunes, contact the dead, summon their personal deities, and perform other occult rituals. When the show was released, Disney Plus subscriptions in Korea increased by almost 3 million new subscriptions in 1 month, a 20% rise in monthly subscriptions. And with the show's popularity, the shamans are holding international fan meetups in countries like Thailand, where tickets sell out within 2 minutes of going on sale. With the success of Battle of Fates, Disney Plus has decided to make an international version of the show, hoping it does as well as the Korean original. These shamans in the show are not just old grandmothers, but young and vibrant Gen Z persons, some even teenagers, who are showing the world that shamanism is not frightening, it's not exclusive, but is a practice that anyone can pursue. Western occultism is often seen in a negative light, as something that is dark and demonic and should be avoided. However, Korean shamanism is being well received by international audiences as a fresh and unusual cultural phenomenon, thanks to popular movies and television shows that have destigmatized its mysteries. Occultism is cast in the light of innocent interaction with the spiritual forces and nature surrounding us every day. According to Korean shamanism, these forces are not frightening spirits, but are misunderstood persons, seeking to help or to be helped by the shaman intermediary. One of the movies not listed above is K-Pop Demon Hunters, because I want to lay some groundwork in the K-pop industry before getting to the movie, so that the movie's message is fully understood. So before we get to the worldwide hit K-Pop Demon Hunters, let's discuss the narratives and imagery of shamanism and the occult in K-pop, which served as the inspiration for the movie's plot. Korean-American author Chaewon Koo, a practicing witch, claims that with K-pop stars literally being called idols, these performances by the groups are not just entertainment, but are forms of ritual magic that are sponsored by the government themselves, not just providing fun ways to harness soft power over the entire world, but a witchcraft practice of influencing audiences through energy manipulation and attraction. A bold claim. However, occult messages and influence in media are nothing new to the American reader, who is well aware of the occult, Freemasonic, and Kabbalistic influence in music and media. However, it is often a surprise to Westerners to realize that South Korean entertainment uses the same methods as Hollywood, except with their own cultural twist. As we will soon realize, although advertised as different paths of the occult, whether shamanistic or Freemasonic, overlap in message, ideology, and symbolism occur frequently. We will begin by looking at BTS, one of the most popular K-pop groups of all time. BTS is a group of 7 male members well known for hit singles such as Dynamite, Butter, and Boy with Love, which have captivated global attention since their debut in 2013. Many fans view their music as having saved their lives, and that it was a healing medicine to them in times of pain and struggle. Keep this theme in mind, as it is one of the central inspirations for K-pop demon hunters. In the same way that K-pop idols use dance and music to save and heal their fans, shamans have been doing this for centuries. After a 4-year break for BTS's fulfillment of their Korean military service, BTS released their comeback album in 2026 titled Arirang, a very meaningful word and song in Korean culture that is the embodiment of everything it means to be Korean. The joy, the sorrow, the suffering, the victories, and the essence of being Korean. BTS has used the word Arirang in their new album to connect with the soul of Korean identity. However, what most are unaware of is the shamanistic roots of the word Arirang. Arirang is not only a description of what it means to be strong and courageous and to endure suffering and sorrow, but Arirang was foremost used as a way to welcome and receive the soul of the dead, paired with the word Shrirang, showing that the soul was awakening. The word is a part of ancient Korean shamanistic rituals. According to Suyan Yu, quote, Arirang represents the symbolic process of awakening the radiant seed of life, Ari, to become a human who embodies the cosmic light, Rang. It is a song of the journey back to our original brilliance. Tracing the origins of Arirang farther back leads us to the most ancient memories of human civilization. Various traditions speak of a golden age, roughly 10,000 years ago, an era of goddess culture where life, nature, and the universe existed in a single harmonious order. At the heart of this culture was the mother's role as the transmitter of the light of life. It is said that the mother bestowed the vital energy of life upon the fetus, maintaining the consciousness that humans are beings eternally connected to the cosmic light. The symbol passed down from this era is the flower of light. It represents the radiance of life blooming within the human soul, sometimes referred to as Yul Yo Hua, the flower of cosmic resonance. It symbolizes the experiential awakening of one's original light. Arirang is a symbolic narrative of the human journey toward our original light. It is the process of awakening the Ari, seed of life, and evolving into the Rang, human of light. Not only is this term Arirang shamanistic in nature, but it also has an underlying philosophy that has commonalities with the mystery religions, Gnosticism, and Hinduism. In the mystery religions and Gnosticism, the goal of each human is to discover the divine spark of godhood in ourselves through knowledge, eventually uniting with the Pleroma. And within Hinduism, breaking free of the reincarnation cycle and realizing that your Atman, or soul, is Brahman, God, and, through moksha, uniting your Atman with Brahman. In other words, humanity realizes through enlightenment that we are gods and one with the divine. Another shamanistic influence on BTS is their fashion style and choices. As an all-male group, BTS is known for wearing female clothing, makeup, and accessories, often defying gender expectations for dress and fashion. As discussed before, this gender bending aligns with the shamanistic practice of androgynous spirituality and ritual. In ancient Korean shamanism, subverting that which is normal within society, known as sagwan, was essential for successful shamanistic rituals. What one comes to realize is that it is not only BTS that challenge the male and female binary. Almost all male K-pop groups express femininity through soft makeup and feminine clothing, and almost all female K-pop groups embody masculine energy through tough rap and hip-hop personas and clothing. An instance where this shamanistic gender neutralization is seen is in BTS's Idol music video and live performance, where one member performs an ancient Korean shamanistic dance, only historically performed by women, called buchechum. When he performs this dance, he not only is wearing female attire and performing a female ritual, but is simultaneously portraying the non-binary and fluid gender standards of Korean shamanism that exist within the androgynous role of shamans in the human spirit contact. This gender neutrality is not just limited to the Idol video. It can be seen across many of their other videos and photo shoots. It is often incorporated into BTS's routines, influenced by salpuri. Salpuri is a form of Korean dance that is known for casting out and ridding an area of evil spirits, most likely influenced by exorcism dances performed by shamans. This occult belief and practice of gender bending is known as androgyny and is a key concept within Gnosticism and the Pleroma, where salvation is found by transcending binaries, including gender, becoming one. In Hinduism, the soul must free itself from worldly illusions to be united with Brahman. This includes transcending gender distinctions. In Buddhism, the non-self, anatta, is held back from enlightenment by maintaining physical attributes of the material world, and must be transcended and subverted, including gender, similar to how the bodhisattvas have transcended gender. Then, looking at the Buddha himself, while male in his physical life, is seen as non-binary and gender fluid once enlightened. In Taoism, each individual is seen as enmeshed in opposing energies, and these must be balanced to reach primordial harmony, including balancing male and female energies within oneself and transcending gender dualities. In Sufi Islam, one of the goals is to return to the original genderless soul of the divine being. In Kabbalistic Judaism, transcending duality is taught in many different theological ways, emphasizing the fluid and always transitioning reality of the physical world between dualities, including gender, which are just divine energies that are interchangeable and not physical characteristics, believing Adam in the garden was an androgynous being before God separated Eve from him. In Freemasonry, androgyny is symbolized by the rebis, an alchemical symbol, representing the transcendence of dualities, including gender, becoming one. The Baphomet, utilized by occult religions, including Wicca, the Satanic Temple, and Aleister Crowley's Thelema, represents the balance of opposites, light and dark, above and below, male and female, breaking the established binaries to bring order out of chaos. In Christianity, within heretical breakoffs and Roman Catholic mysticism, similar ideas can be seen. However, Apostolic Christianity, as seen in Eastern Orthodoxy, within its teachings and tradition, is the only religion that fundamentally rejects the occult practice of transcending duality, instead seeing these categories as beautiful and intentional creations of God. We will come back to this concept of transcending duality soon. In their music videos, BTS also utilizes occult symbolism indicative not only of shamanistic influence, but also of possible influences from Gnosticism, Freemasonry, and the occult at large. For example, in their music video Idol, the group is seen dancing in a courtyard surrounded by arches. In mythology and Freemasonic teaching, arches are seen as an entrance to liminal spaces, a portal from the physical realm into the spiritual realm. Considering they perform shamanistic dances in their routines, it is not far-fetched to see how their dances are paired with occult symbolism communicating to the audience through imagery that the song and dance are a ritual, opening interdimensional portals, sending us into the spirit world, a practice in Korean shamanism known as Mal Moon, where the shaman talks to the spirits of other dimensions in their own language. Then, in the Dynamite music video, we see BTS standing on a stage between two pillars. From an occult and Freemasonic philosophical worldview, the two pillars are symbolic of Yakin and Boaz, the two pillars that are believed to be at the sanctuary entrance of King Solomon's temple. According to Freemasonry, they represent dualism, the balance of light and darkness, male and female, physical and spiritual, the balance of the opposites, perfection as the occult believes, and through these pillars, one is initiated into the mysteries of the universe and begins the path to enlightenment. Once again, these pillars serve as an entrance into the spiritual world through ritual, which, from a Christian theological perspective, uses visual cues that symbolically mirror the concept of spiritual thresholds or portals. This is also seen in many of their other music videos, including Boy with Love, where they stand between two lampposts that are equidistant from each other. These pillars are often paired with the winding staircase of Freemasonry. This winding staircase represents ascent to a higher degree within the secret society. The individual who ascends to higher levels is now an example of enlightenment and wisdom to the world. The Mason is now on a path to self-deification and must vow to make the world a better place. In their music video for DNA, a black hole is prominently featured, which carries along with it the occult symbolism of the mother of creation, or the one which all are connected to and will eventually return to when enlightenment is reached. And in this video, along with many of their others, you will see black and white constantly appearing, whether on the floors, grids, or colorings of the background. This black and white imagery is a core tenet of Freemasonry and represents the duality of the world, where neither side must be embraced but held in harmony. There is no light, no dark, no good, no bad. It is about balancing both realities to achieve perfection. These arches, pillars, portals, staircases, black holes, and checkerboards are also seen in many other K-pop group videos. This is a strange stylistic choice to say the least, a style seen across American and Korean media with a heavy focus on Greco-Roman architecture and symbolism. At a certain point, one could say, it is not coincidental, but intentional. This checkerboard floor also appears in their visualizer for the song Blood, Sweat, and Tears, probably their most occult music video to date. In the same video, one of the members is seen sitting in a bathtub or pool, a symbolic representation of rebirth through water, and that through rebirth, he has been initiated into the occult circles and schools of knowledge. These are known as the waters of occult regeneration, and by showing us the symbolism, the video is alerting the viewer of this reality, and that the viewer, as one who is uninitiated, is a part of the profane. Sitting directly behind the pool is a recreation of the famous Michelangelo Pieta statue, which sits between two black pillars. Yet upon further inspection, it is clear that although Mary's face is visible, Jesus' face and body have been digitized or pixelated to make him unrecognizable in the statue. Towards the end of the video, the Pieta is shown in close-up, and the face of the Mother of God is blown up. Make of that as you will. Moving to the main hall of this video, the members are seen dancing between the Greek god Hermes and the Greek goddesses Demeter or Gaia, who are often depicted in identical ways, making it difficult to distinguish between the goddesses, both housed within their own arches and pillars. In Greek mythology, Hermes is known for moving between the divine and physical realms, serving as a psychopomp and magician, making him equivalent to Thoth in ancient Egyptian mythology, who is also seen as a psychopomp and a god of magic and the dead. On the other side of the group, the goddesses Demeter and Gaia are presented. In Greek mythology, both individuals are seen as goddesses of the harvest and fertility, with Demeter being the goddess of the Eleusinian mystery schools and Gaia being the primordial mother goddess of all creation. Given BTS's alleged religious affiliations, which will be covered soon, the character is most likely Gaia. Yet the statue's ambiguity might be intentional, conveying multiple meanings. At the end of the music video, a black winged statue appears, most likely a representation of Lucifer or a fallen male divine being, and as the song ends, one of the members walks up to the statue and kisses it on the lips. Not only does this break gender norms in the binary of male and female relationships, but from a Christian perspective, it also breaks spiritual and physical norms of romantic interactions happening between humanity and spiritual beings, which was the very reason the world was flooded in Genesis 6, when the rebellious spiritual beings gave esoteric knowledge to men in exchange for human women, which through sexual relations brought forth the ancient men of renown, the giants, the Nephilim. This kiss breaks duality and symbolically ushers the individual into higher levels of knowledge, now being presented in the music video as a fallen angel himself. The scene then cuts to the same member with clipped wings, either symbolically representing himself as a fallen divine being or as a Nephilim of human and divine origin. When looking at the lyrics to this music video, what may appear to be a sensual love song to a girl they love appears to be a song to someone else. From a Christian perspective, it is hard to support the sensual song theory when the lyrics are paired with the symbolism. Instead of a girl, it seems as if the video is communicating the song is about offering blood, sweat, and tears to a dark-winged divine being represented in the statue. The part I would like to highlight is a bit further down the line, where it states, "Kiss me on the lips, a secret just between the two of us, deeply poisoned by the jail of you. I cannot worship anyone but you, and I knew the grail was poisoned, but I drank it anyway. My blood, sweat, tears, and my last dance, take it all away." Towards the end of the video, a member is seen walking up to a black mirror that has a quote from Nietzsche inscribed above that says, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." Firstly, in the occult, a black mirror represents, quote, "a portal between the conscious and subconscious mind, a tool for divination through scrying, a shield against hostile energy, and a surface for shadow work. The deliberate confrontation with the parts of yourself you have not yet integrated." End quote. Paired with a quote from Nietzsche, it is difficult not to see the Freemasonic motto, "Order out of chaos," echoed in these words, regardless of whether Nietzsche was anti-Masonic or not. Alongside the symbolism of their music, the messages of the music videos have frequently been evaluated in light of highly publicized internet theories about BTS's connection to a meditation organization named Dawnworld, which HYBE has categorically denied, emphasizing that such claims are unverified online rumors about the group's educational background. Public speculation in Korea about the connection often points out that 6 of 7 members graduated from Global Cyber University, an institution founded by the creator of the meditation organization Dawnworld. Both organizations were started by Songhyun Lee, where they teach students about brain education. This practice focuses on aligning one's energies, vibrations, and brain through meditation and yoga practices to free their souls and reach harmonic convergence, mixing ancient Korean philosophy with the Taoist philosophy of Sundo culture. Sundo culture is also known as internal alchemy, and Dawnworld is one of the first to revive this ancient practice in the 1980s with Dawn, or Tan, as their version of Tenjeon, which is a branch of Taijongyo. Dawnworld believes that through their organization, they are bringing the same form of internal alchemy that Tangun, the founder of Korea, used, which is significant because, as discussed at the start of this essay, Tangun is seen as the founding shamanist of Korea. By using this form of shamanism, Dawnworld teaches that individuals can connect and use the power of life electrons. Lee Sung-hyun believes that man is God, and God is man, and Mago, the goddess of space, is their central deity who created the universe. As discussed earlier, Mago, or Magu, the mother goddess of the Korean people, was a goddess from Chinese culture, eventually becoming one of the goddesses that reside within the Korean mountains and known within Dawnworld as the mother of all humans. She is very similar in function to the ancient Greek goddesses Gaia and Demeter. Mago is Mother Earth, and aligns with the ancient mother goddess worship of Demeter in the Eleusinian mystery religions. As discussed, the statue mentioned earlier in BTS's video might have been purposely ambiguous to harmonize their affinity for the spirits behind the goddesses Gaia and Demeter. The goal of Dawnworld's practice is for humanity to become gods, the same goal of other religions such as Shamanism, Hinduism, Gnosticism, New Age, and the mystery schools. Dawnworld believes that if 100 million people participate in their cinnabar field meditation, known as brain respirations, they will be able to summon an enlightenment revolution across the world. Dawnworld itself clarifies, quote, "Our values are inspired by Korea's founding principles," end quote. What we see with their claim to being connected to Tangun, who was Korea's first shaman, is that shamanism, alchemy, and occultism are the foundation and inspiration of these meditation practices promoted by Dawnworld. When this connection between BTS and Dawnworld first began to break, numerous high-profile articles discussed the internal connections among HYBE, BTS, and Dawnworld. Reflecting the unique nature of South Korea's strict defamation laws, which penalize the public dissemination of reputation-damaging claims, regardless of the truth or falsity of internet rumors, action was taken against these article publishers for promoting theories of the supposed connection. This intersection of media and online rumor came to a head when HYBE, a South Korean company, pursued legal action in the US court system to unmask anonymous accounts, highlighting how seriously the industry protects its intellectual property from unverified online associations. However, this occult imagery in music videos that seems to be connected to Dawnworld are not just limited to BTS. HYBE has other K-pop groups, like the girl group G-Friend, which released a single titled Mago before breaking up. G-Friend's last album was titled Walpurgis Night, a term for a night when witches gather to perform rituals. HYBE also debuted a girl group named Les Seraphim, which we will get to later, named after biblical divine beings. While online discourse frequently attempts to link HYBE groups' aesthetic motives to the philosophies of Dawnworld, most groups and K-pop industry leaders are now openly embracing the occult as an aesthetic choice. When looking at other K-pop groups, Lisa, a member of the famous girl group Blackpink, collaborated with Anima on a song titled Bad Angel, where she is depicted as a fallen angel, which in the Christian narrative are spiritual beings who rebelled against Yahweh and were cast out of his divine counsel. Through this video, it seems the creators are trying to cast this event in a positive light. The group Dreamcatcher has a focus on dark magic, curse weaving, and dream world architecture. Vix deploys voodoo hexes, chthonic mythology, and body horror. Red Velvet explores themes of witches' covens, ritualistic executions, and gothic thrillers. Pixie centers on dark fantasy folklore, witchcraft, and Faustian bargains. N-Hypen incorporates gothic vampirism, blood rituals, and historical curses. Purple Kiss uses witchcraft, potion brewing, and mystical sisterhoods. aespa synthesizes cyber occultism, digital deities, and cosmic horror. And Idol frames concepts of spiritual rebirth, religious transgression, and dark temptation. Other groups in the mainstream K-pop market include IVE, who deploy subverted magical realism, narcissist mythology, and dark doppelganger rituals. Les Seraphim utilizes Jewish and Christian religious iconography, sacred subversion, and biblical seraphim naming conventions. New Jeans' exploration of psychological liminality, eerie parasocial hauntings, and surreal forest mysticism. And 17's expression of celebratory pantheism and dystopian existential control through the universal deification of art all express how the K-pop industry increasingly utilizes traditional shamanistic and esoteric concepts as a creative foundation to explore deeper, more complex, supernatural narratives that are packaged as hip, popular, and trendy. Bums Up, a Korean dance crew, recently went viral as well in their performance called Dreamscape at the Edge of a Dream, where the group blended dynamic street dance with traditional Korean elements like sangmo hat spinning and buchechum fan dancing, reimagining the passage to the afterlife as guided by shamanic reapers. The main musical influence on K-pop comes from the EDM electronic dance music genre, which is widely regarded as a spiritual powerhouse in the West. EDM, or electronic dance music, is a genre that has been influential worldwide and has influenced many music genres. EDM has been one of the most influential forces in modern K-pop, and in most new K-pop songs, it is the main musical component. EDM is identified by its techno sounds, with repetitive beats that build to the song's peak, where a bass drop occurs and lights flash. EDM concerts have become a worldwide phenomenon, where thousands of people gather together for a collective experience of not only music, but also community, enmeshed with dance, drinking, and psychoactive drugs. The raves provide a connection with others around you, helping one forget about all the destruction in the world and instead focus on communing with others through music and dance, bringing about unspeakable joy. EDM is known for creating psycho-spiritual events that lead individuals to altered states of consciousness. These events are transformative experiences, where subjective participation leads to altered states of consciousness, which in turn create transpersonal phenomenon observed at raves, clubs, and music festivals. Drugs such as MDMA, ecstasy, methamphetamine, cocaine, ketamine, GHB, rohypnol, marijuana, LSD, and psilocybin mushrooms are commonly used, often with participants using one or more of these drugs at the same time. Compare this to the ecstatic states and altered states of consciousness of the shamans in ritual, often initiated through song, dance, and psychoactive drugs. The parallels are undeniable. These EDM concerts are not only addictive because of the substances used, but also because of the emotional feeling that is provided to participants, many citing that their fear disappears and their anxiety is dissolved. Inner peace is brought to them through the DJ's music, often stating, quote, "Last night a DJ saved my life," end quote. There is also perceived healing at these events, claimed to have taken place through the music, dancing, and community. Once again, as mentioned, compare this to the claims BTS fans make about the healing effect their music has on them. Now draw a parallel between the healing of shamans through song and dance. According to a study, quote, "It is not uncommon at electronic music festivals to find multiple healing artists, often claiming to be able to manipulate energy. By way of a specific modality such as Reiki or pranic healing, to facilitate healing and promote well-being to the energy's receivers. Often claiming to be light workers, these healers feel that they have a connection to a higher source of abstract energy or a God source. These DJs are seen as techno shamans who, just as the ancient shaman, are a blend of the physical and the spiritual. The DJ is a blend of the human and the machine. Through the DJ's leadership, playing beats that blend tribal beats with technological sounds, they create a form of neo-paganism and neo-shamanism that represent the meta-modern narrative of people searching for magic and spirituality in a technologically advanced world. EDM concerts, as seen in the testimonies of DJs, artists, and participants, are a neo-shamanic practice that seeks to tap into the same spiritual power as humanity's ancestors through ritualistic practices and group participation, which create religious experiences with many participants in EDM concerts describing not only a rebirth, but also seeing and coming into contact with spirits with whom they either had a positive relationship with or even have become possessed by through entering into these altered states of consciousness. Having these shared experiences paired with copying one another's movements, the crowd awaits the orders of the DJ, or techno shaman to bring them into their shared ritualistic experience, where many claim healing experiences through participation similar to that of ancient shamans. Altered states of consciousness occur not only for those who use drugs, but also for those who refuse drugs or substances and still experience these states of consciousness as a result of the music, scenery, and dancing. It is also worth noting that dancing for extended periods of time leads to exhaustion, which can eventually lead to dizziness and hyperventilation, which can bring on altered states of consciousness, which when paired with the emotions of group solidarity, create shared realities. This is also known as energy transfer, in which energy generated by emotions continually builds and, through group participation, can lead to positive outcomes such as healing in the shamanistic worldview. Keep this in mind when comparing the concerts of K-pop demon hunters that we will cover and noting their similarities. Not only are these concerts and raves heavily geared towards shamanistic themes, but they are not spiritually or culturally neutral either. They are not just fun party environments. At most EDM concerts, symbolism plays an important role in harnessing and encouraging energy in the venue. And when asked about the types of symbols they see at these concerts, participants stated that the most popular ones are related to sacred geometry and ancient geometric symbols. This is important because sacred geometry is not only naturally occurring, but also used in all forms of occultism and shamanism to cast spells. Alongside this geometry, symbols of Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, and alien life are integrated into the stage set, and images are flashed at the concerts. Yet, participants state that Christian symbols were largely absent from these events. It is worth noting that Christian symbols were the only ones not used to induce these trance-like shamanistic festivals, and this absence was justified by those interviewed as a result of rebellion against the predominant system of Christianity in America. However, it is also important to realize that apostolic Christianity is also the only religion that forbids the use of psychoactive drugs, divination, spellcasting, and communication with demonic powers. Christianity views these spirits and practices of EDM as demonic in nature, without exception. It is from these music videos, EDM culture, and K-pop groups that the all-time hit movie K-Pop Demon Hunters draws its influences. Through EDM, a genre that has significantly influenced all of K-pop music, and shamanism, which underlies Korean spiritual identity, the Goot rituals have moved from the village to concert halls, from the campfire to a live stream, and from community gatherings to children's cartoons. K-pop Demon Hunters was the movie that drew attention to the K-Shamanism fad, which has already been on the rise for many years. However, the attention drawn to shamanism and the occult in this movie was achieved through an engaging story with bright, fast-paced animation for children. In the movie, the story begins with a K-pop girl group called Huntrix, whose members descend from the families of ancient Korean shamans. Rumi, the central character, is special though. Her mother was a human shaman, and her father was a spiritual being, a demon, and through sex, they brought forth Rumi, who is a composite of human and spiritual being. Comparing the story with Genesis 6, from a Christian perspective, one could venture to say that Rumi is almost an equivalent of the Nephilim, a hybrid being connected to both the spiritual and physical worlds, making her perfect material for a shaman. Although the world of Huntrix has developed significantly since the ancient era of shamanism, the girls adapt and syncretize traditional shamanistic practices with the modern techno-industrial world, enabling them to perform shamanistic rituals through their K-pop music and dance routines. Through the power of song and dance, they fight back against the dark spiritual forces of the Saja boys, or Reaper boys, to restore healing and balance to the world, eliminating their Han. The Huntrix group uses not only their rituals of K-pop song and dance to fight evil forces, but also works up their fans into ecstatic states through song and dance, where energy is transferred from the fans to the girls, energy that is used to fight against the Saja boys and Guima, the soul consumer. Once again, this is drawing a non-existent boundary between white and black magic. However, throughout this time of fighting demons, Rumi keeps the fact that she is half human and half demon a secret, afraid of what her friends and fans will think of her. Through these K-pop performances, the fans enter trances, mesmerized by the music and dance, open to suggestions from their favorite idols, and, in so doing, Rumi uses the energy transfer to open a hanmun, a soul gate in the movie, that connects the physical world to the spiritual world. Remember the arches and pillars discussed in BTS's music video and the Malmun in Shamanism. Pair this with the audience singing and dancing along, while the huntrix enter the spirit realm as shamanistic intermediaries for their fans, fighting off evil forces, while the entire audience unknowingly enters into the shamanistic group ritual known as Gut, sending fans and idols into ecstatic experiences of joy and spiritual ecstasy. Drawing on Korean shamanism and seeking to redeem evil spirits and forces rather than ultimately defeating them, Rumi does not destroy Jinwoo, the Reaper, but instead redeems him, eliminating his guilt and shame through ritual and restoring him to his true self, eventually leading him to sacrifice himself to protect the world from Guima, the soul consumer. She can do this because, as the intermediary shaman between the physical and spiritual, and as a half-demon herself, she can sympathize with Jinwoo and release him from his shame, from the Han that holds him back from eternal peace that is being used and manipulated by Guima to keep him trapped as a demon. In this framing, evil is not something to be ashamed of, but simply misunderstood. The demonic is not something to be feared, but rather something to be redeemed. Instead of conquering evil, Rumi embraces her demonic side and helps Jinwoo do the same. She helps those around them realize that their and her evil is not truly evil, but only appears that way because they are misunderstood by themselves and others, and through their past actions can be manipulated through shame to do evil they inherently don't want to do. Instead of feeling bad about what happened, he should embrace his brokenness and move forward, making it a part of his identity. And by helping Jinwoo, Rumi realizes this is the same perspective she should hold towards herself. She shouldn't hide that she is a hybrid, but should embrace her demonic and human sides, merging them to harness the power for good as the ultimate K-pop shaman. Instead of fighting duality, one must embrace it, live between them, and harness the power of both light and darkness to bring about a new reality. A shamanic world religion. This is summarized in Huntrick's final song. Through this animated movie, concepts that used to be relegated to religious discussion and spiritual theology have been made into popular culture and are intriguing the attention of the entire world. Min Jong-yoon, a film critic, says the K-pop Demon Hunter film, quote, blends Western exorcism with the characteristics of Korean shamanism, shifting shamanistic belief from the occult genre into fantasy and lowering the barrier to entry for overseas fans, end quote. As DK Kim states, quote, visually K-pop Demon Hunters fuses ink wash brushwork with neon futurism. Its choreography blends gyomu, sword dance, with hip-hop, gyutgori, rhythms pulse under EDM layers. The OST, 8 tracks charting on Billboard, mirrors the ritual sequence. Chongsin, summoning, Osin, welcoming, Songsin, sending. Each song is a modern gut, inviting the world into collective Sin Myung, ecstatic joy. The shamans did not vanish, they took the stage. The gut did not end, it became a concert. Spirits will descend amid cheers and neon light. Our souls still want to dance. Drum beats still move hearts, and Sin Myung never dies. End quote. And just as the shaman is the one seen to bring salvation and healing to their tribe through song and dance, The K-pop idols, whether in movies or in reality, bring healing to people through their song and dance, not just performing, but inviting their fans into a healing ritual with them, to sing, dance, and sway with their community to establish a sense of oneness, the core idea of majority occult belief. K-pop is no longer just entertainment, but is a meta-modern salvation to souls in a postmodern capitalist hellscape. These idols of K-pop serve as oracles of the spiritual world, ushering in healing to an anxious generation, giving group identity and meaning to a hyper-individualistic society, attempting to relieve anxiety and isolation through the magic they work on their fan community. Anthropologist Laurel Kindle states, quote, "The rise of spiritual content from tarot to fortune apps reveals that Mugyo is re-emerging as a modern spirituality industry. K-pop Demon Hunters captures that zeitgeist with precision. Idols as shamans, concert halls as ritual grounds, fandoms as faith communities. Perhaps not analogy, but reality." End quote. The world has grown weary of the horror that portrays demons and the darkness as evil, and instead desires to understand how misconceived evil can help demolish the stereotypes given to these parties by Christianity and colonialism. What we will begin to realize is that within shamanism and a lot of New Age occultism, evil is no longer seen as evil, but as misunderstanding, and that there should be no shame for the perceived evil, but instead should have the pride to embrace the so-called darkness as enlightenment and liberation from the duality of this world. In the same way that Rumi and Jinwu embraced their darkness to be made whole and led to redemption, to be balanced, so should the rest of the world, no matter what type of misunderstanding this may bring to the systems and hierarchies of society. When comparing this philosophy shown in Korean media to Luciferian teaching, similarities can be seen in which the occult and shamanism call individuals to embrace their darkness, make peace with it, and allow it to help them conquer the duality of their nature, empowering them. Through breaking duality, oneness is achieved. And Lucifer in the occult is seen as such, as the embodiment of enlightenment and knowledge. He is the master of freeing himself from duality by embracing it. When talking about Luciferianism, it is done from a Christian perspective, not the established or organized practice of Luciferianism practiced by an insignificant minority that identify themselves as such, but Luciferianism or Satanism as a philosophy based on the lie that was given to Adam and Eve in the garden within the Christian narrative, that through rebellion, through rejection of God's commands, through following one's own path of healing and enlightenment through knowledge and ritual, you will become as gods. That through the gift of intellect, it is believed that man with this new Luciferian intellect will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God.
Here's the way they look at it. Here's their metaphor for the end of innocence. Adam and Eve were held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God. Until Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land. Every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy.
This is the Serpentine Theology of the evil one, the adversary, that seeks to destroy the imagers of God through rebellion and deceit. Whether that human godhood is achieved through the right-hand path of occultism, like shamanism, as a group realizing they are all one and interconnected to the divine in nature, or the left-hand path of occultism like Satanism, which focuses on individual deification, is irrelevant. It does not matter because the dialectic of black and white magic is false. There is only one magic, which in and of itself has only one goal, which is to lead individuals into living a Luciferian philosophy which is as old as mankind. The darkness of Satanism is being moved out. At the same time, the quote, light of Luciferianism is being ushered in throughout the world through shamanism, New Age, and healing organizations that introduce the serpent's deception in a more palatable form. What you must realize at the moment is that shamanism and occultism are nothing more than Luciferian philosophy repackaged within cultural frameworks and worldviews. At the root of all religions, aside from the Orthodox Christian worldview, there is a pursuit to find godhood or enlightenment or oneness within oneself, to realize that you are no different from the divine, and that through knowledge and ritual, you can raise your consciousness and unite yourself with the truth of who you are, God. This is not diversity. This is not religious machinations of creativity. It is a lie that seeks to steal, kill, and destroy the beautiful imagers of God, humanity, and lead them away from the one God who truly loves them. Shamanism and occultism are not dead in Korea, left behind as a primitive practice, but instead are gaining popularity, and instead of disintegrating into the past, have embraced a digital form, one where Korean media and music are the medium through which gut rituals are used to appease the gods, ghosts, and spirits through electronic symphonies. Vineta is an incarnation of the cultural milieu, a shamanistic and occult manifestation that has been preached as gospel by the South Korean media, inviting individuals to sing, dance, and participate in rituals under the veil of entertainment. And Korea is just the start of what will soon be a worldwide phenomenon. Korea has shown the world that music and media are inherently spiritual and emotional, and that they will unite the physical and spiritual worlds in ways most are unaware of. What many are seeing across the world at the moment, as a result of modern technology and dystopian conditions, is dissatisfaction with the present reality and a desire to return to beliefs rooted in humanity's historical practices to provide meaning in their lives, also known as tradition. Younger generations aim to return to the reality our ancestors experienced through embracing mythology, an entry into the future past. This is the meta-modern quest for meaning and re-enchantment in a world that has long been given over to materialistic scientific nihilism. With younger generations wanting to connect with the past, a split of interest is emerging in this return to tradition, leaving most youth with two options. One choice, as we observed throughout most of this article, is that Gen Z and millennials are giving up on scientism, materialism, and postmodernism and embracing New Age, shamanism, and occult practices. This even includes esoteric and mystical traditions in religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Kabbalah, and Islam, Sufism. The goal? To return to the past to rediscover our future, often through New Age methods. There are two ancient paths one can take. Either the path of Luciferian occultism and shamanistic rituals of self-deification to achieve oneness, or the path of the triune God, the creator of all. As many news sources have observed, there is not only a return to occult beliefs and practices, but a noticeable percentage of younger generations are returning to traditional Christianity as well, with Christianity being the only religion that speaks out against the beliefs, practices, and participation in the occult. The Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Reformed churches, although not apostolic but traditional Protestant, are the fastest growing churches in the United States because most evangelical and Protestant churches have become overly contemporary. With access to technology and unlimited information, younger generations can search for the truth, historicity, and authenticity they seek in these more traditional churches. Young Christians are now looking for a church that calls them into a higher meaning, purpose, and something otherworldly. The same goal of those embracing the occult, yet this higher purpose and higher power is outside themselves, not to be found internally in the self or the God within. With this return to tradition, the world is entering an age of re-enchantment, in which religion and spirituality, long disregarded as superstitious and meaningless, are being rediscovered. What the youth are realizing, both in Korea and internationally, is that a world that is hyper-rationalistic, hyper-scientific, and militantly atheist, agnostic, and materialistic leaves no room for hope, justice, or supernatural explanations of strange events. In this emerging and some would argue predominant meta-modern worldview, science is no longer trustworthy because it serves the cabal's interests. Throughout the world, technology is seen as progress, but it is abused to serve tyranny. Religion is no longer considered true because powerful individuals established it. Economics is no longer worth worrying about because it's controlled by the wealthy and a specific ethnic group. Politics worldwide is a lost cause because international child-sacrificing elites control it. The world and reality in which we live are hopeless, and the established orders do not help the hopeless. Instead, they use their power to intensify abuse, which, rather than bringing progress, breeds resentment among the people, making them more inclined to dismantle the power structures of control. As stated by Christopher Kuhn, quote, "As the Western world abandons its historic faith traditions, it isn't becoming atheist, but agnostic, and it is within this vague milieu of agnosticism that these occult ideas travel. With the intellectual and spiritual coherence offered by religion fading, we may find that people turn to the wastebasket of occultism and its mysterious depths for answers that the churches used to provide. Of one thing we can be sure. As the world braces for crises on every front, people will be looking for answers." End quote. This mystified agnosticism, where there is a belief in some unknown cosmic power or forces, yet lacks a central deity focused on dogmatics and doctrines, plays wonderfully into the narrative of deconstructing the power structures that have traumatized the world, and shamanism and the occult are introduced as the medium to re-enchant it, yet also spiritually destroy individuals in the process. To heal the trauma caused by the current power structures, shamanism and the occult are stepping in to help restructure faith around individual experience and collective community that needs no sense of objective truth, values, or meta-narratives. Because shamanism is fundamentally neither left, black, nor right-hand, white, magic, it is a non-dualistic middleman that existed before the Western designations of the two-hand path within the occult tradition. Shamanism is the purest and most ancient form of occult religion. It embraces both the left and right in its own identity as shamanism. There is no distinction between good and evil. Instead, it seeks to bring balance and healing between the dark and the light to the world. This mystic agnosticism, influenced by shamanism, is perfect for a meta-modern world, filled with scientific modernism and the irony of postmodern spirituality, seeking a form of experiential reality not linked to any specific religious organization. It is both individualistic and communal. It is spiritual and physical. It is experiential and metaphysical. It is religious and non-religious. It is whatever the individual needs it to be, providing myth, story, and meaning to their life. As stated by Irene Capsado, quote, "This modern revival isn't about religion. Shamanism is not a belief system in the traditional sense. It doesn't require faith in a god or adherence to any doctrine. Instead, it offers a way of reconnection to nature, to ourselves, and to the unseen energy that flows through all life, which many simply call spirit." End quote. This return to tradition is symptomatic of a humanity struggling with brokenness, injustice, and a desire for restoration. Through occult practices, there is a promise that it will provide practitioners with power and ways to control the outcomes of their own reality in a world that feels as if it is spiraling out of control. Humanity is searching for healing, and shamanism and the occult promise not only healing, but also the ability to control your own life with the support of a community that is attempting to do the same. And this desire for healing and justice is not bad, but the source of occultism in which people are finding peace is. Not only does participation in the occult darkness lead to greater brokenness, but it also leads to spiritual separation from the true source of healing, resurrection, redemption, and restoration. By communing with evil spirits, we become as they are, breaking the commands of God that were established for our healing. Through befriending these evil divine beings, we are separated from the true and only one God that promises to make all things new. We are not separated from God because he is mean and arbitrary, but because through communion with these demonic forces, we become like them. And as we are conformed to the image of the demons, we want less and less to be in the love and grace of God. God's love is always there for us to receive, chasing us down even in our darkness, begging and pleading for us to return to him. Still, through our own actions and affinities, we reject God through our own preference for darkness. But the great news is that even in our darkest moments, even in the search for meaning in occultism, Jesus entered the world to bring new life to you, to heal the Han of every person and restore them to the love of God, snatching them from the influence of the enemy and promising to conform them to the image of Christ, the image of what it means to be truly human. In Genesis, we are told that each one of us is made in the image of God, crafted in the love and care of the Creator, and called to communion not only with God himself, but with his entire creation. We are called to care for the animals, to maintain the flora and fauna, to live at peace with our neighbor and with God our Creator. Yet through participating in the Luciferian lie and the Serpentine deception, chaos was introduced into the world, selfishness was infused into the heart of humanity, and Han was unleashed upon creation. The sickness of sin now infects humanity, introducing brokenness and disharmony with our neighbors, God, and creation. Pain, suffering, and death have captivated the human condition, creating a cry of desperation from humanity, looking for a savior to bring healing to the brokenness introduced to us through demonic influence. And while the enemy believes that he has won in destroying the pinnacle of God's creation, humanity, Jesus Christ, fully God and fully man, is sent to us to be our healer, our redeemer, and to proclaim victory over death. Jesus Christ is the only way to true restoration and true harmony with the divine and with creation. Han is not what holds individuals back from eternal life. What holds us back is our reliance on ourselves and on dark spiritual forces to free ourselves from pain, brokenness, and sin. Jesus, the God who became man, came to take our Han from us and place it upon himself, to be the doctor that heals us from the sin and passions that seek to destroy us, and through his graces to unite us to himself, not so that we become engulfed into the oneness of creation and become deified, but so that Jesus can save us from our shame by his grace, and redeem us as individuals to be made truly human. Through Jesus, the second Adam, humanity is restored to being truly human, conforming our image to the image of Christ through the graces he offers us in the church. Occultism is about seeking spiritual answers through ancient practices and rituals to connect them to the spiritual world. These would be known as the secular sacraments. In Christianity, No soul gate or incantation is required for humanity to access the divine by their own strength or ability, because through the sacraments of the Church, instituted by Jesus himself, God makes himself not only known to us, but tangible, connecting the physical world with the spiritual world. Through baptism, one is washed with water, going down the old man and being raised forth the new man of salvation in Christ. Through chrismation, our salvation is sealed in the Holy Spirit. God himself comes to dwell within each individual, guiding them into the life of holiness. And through the Eucharist, we mystically partake in the body and blood of Christ to transform us from the inside out into the image bearers of Christ, infusing our physical bodies with his divine grace and taking away our sin, shame, and Han, empowering us to go out into the world to bring heaven to earth through loving the Lord our God and through loving our neighbors as ourselves. In Christianity, God himself takes the initiative to bring us into his love. We do not need to invoke him as the occultists do. We do not need to appease him as the Canaanites did. We do not need to trick him to make himself known among us, because his love is so strong that he willingly makes himself known among us, most notably in the incarnation of Jesus Christ and each week within the sacraments of the Church. In the incarnation, God takes on human flesh and walks among us, bringing healing to the sick, peace to the traumatized, and justice to the oppressed. Still, he does not just fix the physical world, but through death conquers death, descends into Hades, frees the souls of those imprisoned by death, and raises them in himself to new life, to eternal life, which is then promised to all those who love him, live faithfully with him, and keep his commands to show our love for him. He invites us to be united to his body, for it is through being united to the body, which is his church, that we are connected to the head, which is Christ. And through participation in the divine life of the Christian, we are not only made more like Christ, but are being transformed, day by day, continually living in the foretaste of hope and glory of the new creation to be established by Christ. This is an unpopular opinion and goes against the inclusivist universal philosophy and religion of oneness. But truth, in its very nature, is exclusive. There is a right and wrong answer. There is a true and false, and multiple things cannot be true at the same time. It is this very practical dualism of choice of free will between good and evil that Luciferianism, world religions, and oneness movements seek to crush. Unity and diversity is celebrated as long as this diversity does not disrupt the harmony the oneness movement seeks to create and does not establish moral binaries. The spirits behind shamanism are the spirits that the church fathers and the historic church would not deem to be neutral. They are demonic, and as demonic forces do, they lead to further delusion. Shamanism provides the perfect pretext to initiate individuals into a new mode of spiritual thinking, one that is non-dualistic, non-dogmatic, and non-objective, focused solely on unity with nature and the One. Shamanism creates the oneness aspect needed to usher in a new world religion that will deceive many into abandoning Jesus Christ for other false messiahs, fallen interdimensional beings, also known as demons, working through fallen humanity to deceive even the elect. Through these techno-shamanistic media leaders, not just in Korea, but throughout the world, many are being influenced into participation in rituals that bring about false spiritual healing. Just as Jesus warns us in the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 24, verses 23 through 24, quote, "Then if anyone says to you, 'Look, here's the Christ,' or 'There,' do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." End quote. St. John, warning the church of the heresy of Gnosticism, provides a simple litmus test for Christians to test the teachings of proclaimed religious figures and prophets who are not being led by the Holy Spirit, but are being led by the demonic forces and fallen spirits that seek to lead people into delusion. In the epistle of 1 John, chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, and chapters 5, verse 20, St. John states, quote, "Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard was coming, and is now already in the world. And we know that the Son of God has come and has given us an understanding, that we may know him who is true, and we are in him who is true, in his Son Jesus Christ. This is the true God and eternal life." End quote. The early church fathers and spiritual leaders who have pushed back against the same spiritual deceptions of today help shed light on the current spirit of the age. Whether it be fighting Gnosticism with St. Irenaeus, breaking the curses of the occult with St. Cyprian of Antioch, or destroying deceitful spiritual experiences with St. Anthony the Great, the Church is more than equipped to answer the modern shamanism and oneness movements, which are nothing more than ancient heresies repackaged in a modern context. And what the Fathers teach over and again is that Jesus is not only man, he is not just a prophet, and he is not just a spiritually enlightened guide. Jesus Christ is God in the flesh, fully God and fully man. And any spiritual leader who denies either of these two distinct natures in the one person of Jesus Christ is not only misled, but is functioning within the spirit of the Antichrist. Although it may seem intriguing and entertaining, shamanism in South Korean media is a snapshot into the future one-world religion that will be embraced by people internationally. It will be centered on the main concepts of shamanism: decentralized, non-dogmatic authority, an experientially based religion with the goal of self-centered enlightenment that occurs within group rituals to come into contact with spiritual powers. Not all shamanistic practices across the world will look the same because they are decentralized and non-dogmatic. Therefore, any cultural or religious tradition can syncretize its beliefs with those of the one-world religion. Truth will not be established through claims of objectivity, but will be determined subjectively through each individual's experience and what they think is true. Others will be required to affirm these experiences as valid claims to a higher reality. And finally, through these events brought on through group experiences and personal spiritual practice, one achieves the goal of returning to the One, the Source, the pleroma by any means of knowledge and ritual, where these spirits, gods, and ancestors open one's eyes to the truth, that everyone is a part of the One. They are a sliver of divinity. They are themselves a part of God. "You will be as gods," was the lie given to Adam and Eve in the garden. The lie that is promulgated across world religions. The lie that leads to a rejection of Christ, and the lie that will lead to a one-world religion. The media of South Korea is using shamanism to initiate their fans into the occult, echoing the sentiment of Serpentine Theology, a cultural reflection of what is being mirrored worldwide with a desire for healing from brokenness, redemption from injustice, and freedom from death. A savior is being sought, a Messiah that will restore order, and we are being sold the lie that humanity can save itself. But the great news is that we do not need to save ourselves, for Jesus Christ has already opened a way for us to be restored to our Creator, reconciled with our neighbors, and brought into a renewed nature, both for ourselves and all of creation. So is Korea trying to make the world embrace shamanism and the occult? No. However, what I do believe is that the Korean media is reflecting a broader systemic and spiritual trend. Rather than mere entertainment, these frameworks function as a form of initiation for the Korean people and the international masses into the worldview of the occult through shamanism, who believe they are guiding the evolution of humanity into higher levels of consciousness, which, in tandem, is leading them into a Luciferian deception known as Serpentine Theology. The occult, which used to be branded as satanic, dark, and demonic, has now been rebranded in more shamanistic and New Age terms to make it more inviting. Instead of blood sacrifices, we get herbal spells and yogic meditation for healing. Instead of candlelight rituals to commune with the demonic, we get psychedelic contact with interdimensional beings. And instead of getting bonfire shaman trances, we get EDM concerts that connect us to nature and the human race. What was once seen as black or dark magic is now being rebranded as healing, uniting, and otherworldly. Through this normalization of shamanism in Korean media, Korea and the world will begin to be re-enchanted into an occult worldview, where demons and spirits exist, and where gods and devils interact and guide humanity. And this is how it has always been: a spiritual fight for the souls and images of humanity. The only difference is that many have forgotten that, and through Re-Enchantment, a worldwide pilgrimage towards spirituality is being initiated. We must know which path we follow. The world moving forward will be faced with major spiritual challenges, decisions that will be either to embrace the spirit of the age of shamanistic spirituality and New Age occult rituals, or to endure the persecution of being a disciple of Christ, refusing to conform to the emerging world religion, rejecting false messengers who claim to be Christ and pushing back against the lawlessness of humanity, clinging to the promise of Jesus that he who endures to the end shall be saved. So, which way will it be, young pilgrim? Will it be Christ or the occult?